High Chancellor Thokmar stood alone in his crystal tower, watching his empire die. Through the massive windows, he could see Council Station falling apart. Ships were leaving without permission. Entire sections had declared independence. His own staff had stopped following orders. The crystalline alien's form flickered between angry red and desperate blue as he activated the most secret communication channel in the galaxy. Only 3 beings knew this frequency existed. "Activate the final protocol," Thokmar said into the darkness. From somewhere in the deepest part of Council space, an ancient voice responded. "Are you certain, Chancellor? Once activated, the World Killer cannot be recalled." Thokmar's glow turned pure, burning white. "Do it. Destroy the human homeworld. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us." For 3,000 years, the Council had ruled through fear of their ultimate weapon. The World Killer was a massive space station with the power to destroy entire planets. It had never been used, but every species in the galaxy knew it existed. The threat alone had prevented countless rebellions. Admiral Han Su received the intelligence report from Captain Kang Do within minutes. "Sir, Council deep space sensors show massive energy buildup at coordinates we've never seen before. Something big is coming online." Dr. Moonji looked up from her psychological analysis. "Thokmar has finally decided to use their ultimate weapon. He'd rather destroy Earth than admit defeat." "How long until it arrives?" Admiral Han Su asked. 6 hours, Chief Engineer Bei Ri reported after studying the energy signatures. "Whatever it is, it's massive and it's moving this way." Ambassador Na Yu frowned as she considered the implications. If they really can destroy planets, why haven't they used it before? Why rule through economics and politics when you could just threaten to blow up anyone who disobeys? It was a good question. Dr. Moonji had been wondering the same thing for months. "Admiral," she said slowly, "what if they can't actually use it? What if the ultimate weapon is just a bluff?" Captain Kang Do was already working on that theory. His intelligence network had been trying to penetrate Council deep space operations for weeks. Now with the World Killer activating, new opportunities were presenting themselves. "Sir, I'm detecting massive communication traffic between the weapon platform and Council leadership. They're arguing about something. Can you break the encryption?" Hansu asked. "Working on it," Kang Do replied, his fingers flying over holographic controls. "Got it. Putting it on speakers now." The voices that emerged were tense and frightened. "Chancellor, the weapon systems are not responding properly," said an unfamiliar voice. "What do you mean, not responding?" Thokmar's voice crackled with fury. "The targeting computers show error messages. The power core is running at 60% capacity. The focusing crystals are cracked. How is that possible?" "Sir, the weapon hasn't been properly maintained in over 800 years. We've been faking the maintenance reports because nobody wanted to admit the problems." There was a long, horrible silence. Dr. Moonji started laughing. It began as a quiet chuckle but grew into full, delighted laughter. "They don't have an ultimate weapon. They have an ultimate bluff." Chief Engineer Bei Ri was studying the energy readings more carefully. "Admiral, this is fascinating. The power signature is huge, but it's completely unstable. If they try to fire that thing, it's more likely to destroy itself than hit anything else." Admiral Han Su made a decision that would end the Council forever. "Open a communication channel to High Chancellor Thokmar. All frequencies. I want every being in the galaxy to hear this." When Thokmar's image appeared, he was still glowing with desperate white light. "Admiral Han Su, you will surrender immediately, or face the power of our ultimate weapon." "Chancellor," Han Su said calmly, "we know your weapon doesn't work." Thokmar's glow flickered. "Impossible. You're bluffing." Captain Kang Do broadcast the intercepted maintenance reports across the galaxy, technical specifications showing centuries of neglect, engineering assessments stating that the weapon was unsafe to operate, communications proving that Council leadership had been lying about their ultimate deterrent for hundreds of years. The psychological impact was immediate and total. Every species in the galaxy realized they had been living in fear of something that didn't exist. Ambassador Na Yu addressed the galaxy directly. "People of all worlds, you've spent 3,000 years afraid of a weapon that was never real. The Council maintained power by making you believe they could destroy your planets. But they can't. They never could." Dr. Moonji provided the psychological analysis that broke Thokmar completely. "Chancellor, Our studies show that you've been as afraid of that weapon as everyone else. You knew it didn't work, but you were terrified that someone would find out. Your entire identity as a leader was built on a lie. Chief Engineer Bay Ree delivered the technical details that made the deception clear. The World Killer was built 3,000 years ago using technology they didn't fully understand. It worked once, maybe twice, then broke down. Rather than admit they couldn't fix it, the Council just pretended it still functioned. The revelation destroyed more than just the Council's credibility. It destroyed the fear that had kept the galaxy enslaved. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had spent their entire lives in terror suddenly understood that their oppressors were powerless. The ultimate weapon was a lie. The Invincible Council was just 3 leaders arguing in an empty space station. High Chancellor Thokmar made one final, desperate attempt to maintain control. Even if the weapon doesn't work, we still have our fleets. We still have our authority. What fleets? Admiral Hansu asked quietly. War Marshal Zef Kul's armada refused to fight us and went home. Your remaining ships are either joining the rebellions or abandoning their posts. As for your authority, Chancellor, when was the last time anyone actually obeyed one of your orders? The truth was devastating. Thokmar looked around his crystal tower and realized he was alone. His staff had left. His guards had departed. His advisors had stopped responding to communications. Economic Syndicate leader Mordun's voice came over the emergency channel. Thokmar, this is over. The aquatic worlds have formed their own federation. We're not part of your council anymore. War Marshal Zef Kul added his own resignation. The military is withdrawing support. We're going home to help rebuild our worlds. Across the galaxy, species after species declared independence, not just from council rule, but from the fear that had kept them obedient. The psychological chains were broken forever. Ambassador Nayu made humanity's final offer. Chancellor Thokmar, the Galactic Council is dissolved. You can join the new Federation as an equal member, or you can retire peacefully. Your choice. Dr. Moon Ji watched the alien leader's psychological collapse with professional interest. Thokmar's form was shifting through every color in the spectrum as his mind tried to process the end of everything he had believed about himself and his power. Finally, the crystalline alien's glow faded to a soft, tired blue. I don't know how to be anything except Chancellor. Then learn, Admiral Hansu said gently. We all have to learn new ways of living. The difference is that now we get to choose what we become. Captain Kang Do reported the final statistics. Admiral, we have confirmation. 437 worlds have declared independence from Council rule. 212 have already applied to join the new Galactic Federation. The others are setting up their own governments or forming regional alliances. Chief Engineer Bay Ree was coordinating the technological transfers that would make independence possible. Molecular assemblers, quantum communicators, and fusion reactors are being distributed to every world that wants them. No species will be dependent on others for basic survival. The new galaxy was being born without conquest, without force, without fear. Humanity had freed everyone by showing them that their fears were based on lies. 3 months later, Ambassador Nayu stood at the podium of the First Galactic Federation Assembly. Representatives from 300 worlds sat in chambers designed for equality rather than hierarchy. The Federation recognizes no masters and no slaves, she declared. Every species has one vote, regardless of size or power. Every being has the right to determine their own future, and no one will ever again live in fear of weapons that don't exist or leaders who demand obedience without earning respect. Admiral Hansu watched from the observation deck, where Dr. Moonji was taking notes for her historical record of the events. Any regrets? She asked. Hansu smiled. Only one. We should have done this sooner. In the end, humanity had crushed all negotiations not by being better at fighting, but by being better at thinking. They had proven that the most powerful weapon in the galaxy was truth, and the most dangerous enemy of tyranny was the simple question, what if we just said no? The Council era was over. The Federation era had begun. And somewhere in the galaxy, beings who had never known freedom were learning what it meant to choose their own destiny. The humans had kept their promise. They hadn't conquered anyone. They had just shown everyone else how to conquer fear itself. War Marshal Zef Kul had reached his breaking point. The proud bird alien stood before the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 10,000 warships from 400 different worlds, all armed with the most advanced weapons the Council possessed. This ends today. Zefkul declared to his fleet commanders. The humans have made fools of us long enough. We will destroy their homeworld and show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Council. His officers nodded, but many seemed less enthusiastic than usual. The constant rebellions across the galaxy had stretched their forces thin. Reports of civilian massacres had damaged military morale. Some questioned whether they were still the heroes of this story. Admiral Han Su stood on the bridge of the human flagship, watching the massive enemy fleet approach through quantum space. Next to him, Dr. Moonji studied psychological profiles while Chief Engineer Bei Ri monitored their own much smaller force. 12 ships, Bei Ri said quietly. 12 human ships against 10,000 council vessels. Are you worried? Hansu asked. No, sir, Bei Ri replied. I'm excited to see if our theories work in practice. The human fleet was tiny compared to the approaching armada. 12 sleek vessels that looked almost primitive next to the massive council dreadnoughts. Any observer would assume the humans were about to be completely destroyed. But Dr. Moonji had been studying more than just council psychology. She had been analyzing their military tactics, their ship designs, their crew training. What she found was troubling for the council. They haven't fought a real war in over 800 years, she told Admiral Han Su. Every conflict has been one-sided. They've forgotten how to adapt when the enemy fights back. Captain Kang Do had been even busier. His intelligence network now reached deep into the council military itself. Soldiers and officers who were tired of serving leaders they no longer respected. Admiral, I have updates from inside their fleet, Kang Do reported. Morale is terrible. Half the crew think this attack is wrong. The other half think it's necessary but doomed to fail. And their families? Dr. Moonji asked, watching the news broadcasts about rebellions back home. Their own worlds are falling apart while they're out here fighting a war that makes no sense to them. As the Council fleet emerged from quantum space near Earth, they found the 12 human ships waiting in perfect formation. No signs of panic, no desperate attempts to flee, just calm readiness. War Marshal Zefkul opened communications expecting to deliver the usual surrender ultimatum. Instead, he found Admiral Han Su looking relaxed and confident. Marshal, Han Su said politely, welcome to the Sol system. I assume you're here to discuss terms? Terms? Zefkul's feathers ruffled with anger. You will surrender immediately, or we will destroy your planet. I see, Han Su replied calmly. And after you destroy Earth, what's your plan for the rebellions on 200 other worlds? Will you destroy all of them too? The question caught Zefkul off guard. He had been so focused on this battle that he hadn't thought about what came next. Dr. Moonji leaned into the communication pickup. Marshal, our intelligence shows that your own homeworld is currently experiencing food riots. Your wife sent you 3 messages yesterday asking when you're coming home. Your eldest son posted on the Galactic net asking why his father is fighting civilians instead of helping his own people. Zefkul's eyes went wide. How did they know about his family? Captain Kang Do took over. We have complete access to Council communications, Marshal. We know that High Chancellor Thokmar ordered this attack without consulting the other factions. We know that Economic Syndicate leader Morden thinks you're wasting resources that should be used to rebuild the economy. We know that 40% of your fleet commanders think this mission is a mistake. Ambassador Na Yu appeared on screen. We also know that you're not really in command of this fleet anymore. Half your ships are taking orders directly from their home governments, not from you. 3 entire battle groups are planning to return home after this engagement, regardless of the outcome. Chief Engineer Bei Ri activated the human fleet's most important system. It wasn't a weapon. It was a communication array that could reach every ship in the Council fleet simultaneously. Attention Council forces, Bei Ri broadcast. We're uploading current status reports from your homeworlds. Please review the information about your families and your people. The psychological effect was immediate. Council soldiers and officers received real-time updates about the situations they had left behind. Rebellions weren't just political movements. They were their own neighbors and relatives demanding better lives. The economic collapse wasn't an abstract concept. It was their children going hungry while the leadership fought pointless wars. Admiral Han Su opened a general communication channel. Council fleet, I want you to understand something important. We don't want to fight you. We don't want to destroy your ships or kill your people. We want you to go home and help rebuild the galaxy into something better. Dr. Moonji added her voice. Your leaders sent you here to die for their pride while your own worlds burn. Is that really what you signed up for when you joined the military? War Marshal Zefkul tried to regain control. All ships ignore human communications. Prepare to attack. But something unprecedented happened. Ship after ship reported technical difficulties. Weapon systems malfunctioned. Engines experienced mysterious problems. Shield generators failed for no apparent reason. Chief Engineer Bayri smiled as she watched her work take effect. For months, human intelligence had been infiltrating council ships through their own maintenance networks, not to plant bombs or viruses, but to give their engineers and technicians the ability to shut down military systems when they chose to. Every bolt, every circuit, every computer chip in your fleet was made by workers who are tired of war, Bayri announced. They built these ships, and they built them with shutdown codes that we're now sharing with your crews. Captain Kang Do broadcast the technical specifications to every ship simultaneously. Within minutes, thousands of council engineers and technicians had the ability to disable their own weapons if they chose to. The psychological pressure was unbearable. Council soldiers were forced to choose between following orders from leaders they didn't trust or protecting people they actually cared about. War Marshal Zefkul watched in horror as ship after ship reported system failures. Not battle damage, deliberate sabotage by their own crews. Admiral Han Su, came a voice from one of the council dreadnoughts. This is Captain Velnash of the ship Eternal Victory. My crew and I request permission to withdraw from this engagement. Permission granted, Captain, Han Su replied immediately. Safe travels home. More voices followed. Ship commanders explaining that they couldn't in good conscience attack civilians while their own people needed help. Engineers reporting that they had chosen to disable weapons rather than participate in what they saw as an unjust war. Ambassador Na Yu offered the final psychological blow. Marshal Zefkul, you can order your remaining ships to attack. But ask yourself, what kind of leader destroys people who are offering mercy? What kind of victory requires you to become the monster in everyone's story? Dr. Moonji had calculated the breaking point perfectly. Zefkul was a military leader, but he was also someone who genuinely believed he was protecting the galaxy. Faced with the choice between being a protector and being a destroyer, his psychological profile indicated he would choose protection. The War Marshal's voice was quiet when he finally spoke. All ships, stand down. We're returning home. Wait, Admiral Hansu said. Before you go, there's something else. Chief Engineer Bayri transmitted technical specifications to the entire Council fleet. Quantum communication arrays, molecular assemblers, fusion reactors, and medical technologies. All freely shared. Take them home and use them to help your people rebuild. The gesture broke the last of the Council's psychological resistance. They had come to destroy Earth and instead received gifts that could save their civilization. As the Council fleet began to withdraw, Captain Kang Du reported the wider implications. Admiral, we're getting reports from across the galaxy. Seeing their military refuse to fight has inspired more rebellions. 37 additional worlds have declared independence in the last hour. Dr. Moonji analyzed the psychological cascade. The Council's authority was based on the belief that resistance was impossible. Now everyone can see that even their own military won't fight for them. War Marshal Zefkul's final transmission was barely audible. Admiral Hansu, why did you spare us? Hansu's reply was simple. Because we're not trying to conquer anyone, Marshal. We're trying to free everyone. As the last Council ship disappeared into quantum space, Ambassador Na Yu turned to the Admiral. Phase 4 complete? Phase 4 complete, Hansu confirmed. Now for the final act. The galaxy had seen the Council military fail without firing a shot. Their economic control had collapsed. Their political authority was in ruins. But the most dangerous moment was still ahead, when desperate, tyrants decided they had nothing left to lose except the ultimate weapon that had maintained their power for 3,000 years. The weapon they had never used, but everyone feared. The weapon that Admiral Hansu was about to prove didn't work. Economic Syndicate leader. Morden made his move exactly as Dr. Moonji had predicted. The aquatic alien was angry and desperate, watching his carefully maintained economic system fall apart, while the military and political factions fought over human technology. Cut off all trade to the human system. Morden ordered his subordinates. Block their access to quantum materials, rare metals, and energy crystals. Within 3 months, they'll be begging us for mercy. It was the same strategy the Council had used for thousands of years. Economic warfare was clean, effective, and usually ended with complete surrender within weeks. No species could survive without access to galactic trade networks, but Chief Engineer Bei Ri had been preparing for this moment since humanity first detected Council communications years ago. She stood in the central command room of Luna Station, watching the data streams from across the solar system. "How are our production numbers?" Admiral Hansu asked as he joined her. "Better than expected," Bei Ri replied, pulling up holographic displays. "Asteroid mining operations are at 115% of projected output. The molecular assemblers are creating everything we need from basic elements, and our closed-loop manufacturing means we're actually producing more than we consume." Dr. Moonji studied the psychological profiles of Council leadership. "Morden is expecting us to panic within days. His entire strategy depends on us being dependent on their resources." "Then let's disappoint him," Hansu said. The Admiral was right to be confident. Humanity had spent decades building an economy that didn't need anyone else. When other species were still learning to use fire, humans had already been planning for independence. Every asteroid in the solar system had been mapped and claimed. Every planet and moon had mining operations or manufacturing facilities. Captain Kang Du had been monitoring Council communications for weeks, and now he brought disturbing news. "Admiral, you need to see these intercepts. Morden isn't just cutting off trade. He's actively threatening other species that might want to deal with us." The recordings were damning. Morden speaking to various planetary leaders using threats and economic pressure to ensure nobody would help humanity. The aquatic alien made it clear that any species caught trading with humans would face severe punishment. "He's treating them like slaves," Dr. Moonji observed. "Not allies or partners, but property that he owns." Ambassador Na Yu smiled when she heard this. It was exactly the opportunity she had been waiting for. "Captain Kang Do, how many species has Morden threatened in the last week?" 47 so far, Kang Do replied, "including some that have been Council members for over 1,000 years. "Perfect. It's time for some counter-offers." Nayu's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to break the Council's economic blockade, humanity would offer something better. She began reaching out to the species that Morden had threatened, but not with requests for help. "We don't need your resources," Na Yu told the leader of a mining world that had been forced to cut ties with humanity. "But we think you might be interested in ours." The alien leader, a creature that looked like a walking rock formation, was confused. "What do you mean?" "Our molecular assemblers can create any element or compound from basic materials," Na Yu explained. "We could provide you with rare metals and crystals without requiring you to strip mine your own planet." "That's impossible," the alien said. "Creating matter requires enormous energy." Chief Engineer Bei Ri appeared on the communication screen, holding a crystal that sparkled with internal light. "This took us about 30 seconds to make using solar energy and asteroid material. We can make as many as you want." The rock alien stared. "That crystal would normally take his people months to mine and refine." Nayu continued. "We're not asking you to choose sides in this conflict. We're just offering better technology and fairer trade terms than what the Council provides." Word spread quickly through the galactic underground. Species that had been economically enslaved for centuries suddenly learned that there were alternatives. Humanity wasn't demanding tribute or taxation. They were offering genuine partnership. The psychological impact was exactly what Dr. Moonji had calculated. For the first time in their lives, billions of beings across the galaxy realized they didn't have to accept Council exploitation. Captain Kang Do's intelligence network began picking up interesting signals, secret communications between planetary governments, coded messages between rebel groups, whispered conversations in spaceport bars. "Admiral, the rebellion is spreading faster than we expected," Kang Do reported. 17 worlds have already declared economic independence from the Council. 23 more are considering it. But the real breakthrough came when Kang Do found something in the Council's own classified archives. "Sir, you need to hear this," he said, playing an audio recording. It was Economic Syndicate leader Morden speaking to his closest advisors. "These subject species are getting too comfortable," Morden's voice said through the speakers. "They think they deserve rights and representation. We need to remind them that they exist only to serve our needs. Double the taxation on agricultural worlds. If they complain, cut their food rations." Another voice responded, Sir, some of the species are already malnourished. If we cut rations further, many will die. Then let them die, Morden replied coldly. Fear of starvation is an excellent motivator for obedience. Dr. Moonji felt sick listening to it. He's talking about genocide like it's a business decision. How many beings is he willing to kill? Admiral Hansu asked. Kang Do checked the data. According to these files, the Council has allowed over 50 billion people to starve in the last century, just to maintain economic control. Nayu made the decision immediately. Broadcast it. Every species in the galaxy needs to hear what their rulers really think of them. The revelation exploded across galactic communications like a supernova. For 3,000 years, the Council had presented itself as benevolent guardians, bringing order and prosperity to the galaxy. Now everyone could hear their leaders discussing mass murder as if they were planning a business meeting. The recordings didn't just show Morden's cruelty. There were files of War Marshal Zefkul discussing the necessity of occasionally destroying entire worlds as examples to others. High Chancellor Thokmar debating whether certain species deserved to exist at all. The psychological impact was devastating. Species that had served the Council faithfully for millennia suddenly understood that their loyalty meant nothing. They were seen as livestock, not citizens. Rebellions erupted on hundreds of worlds. Not violent uprisings, but something more dangerous to the Council: economic independence. Planets stopped sending tribute. Mining operations shut down. Trade routes closed. Chief Engineer Beiri coordinated with human engineers across the galaxy, sharing technology and knowledge with anyone who wanted freedom from Council control. Molecular assemblers, fusion reactors, quantum communicators, all freely given to any species willing to stand up for themselves. We're not conquering anyone, she explained to Admiral Hansu. We're giving them the tools to conquer themselves. The Council tried to respond with force, but their military was already weakened by internal fighting. Zefkul's fleets were spread thin, trying to suppress dozens of rebellions simultaneously. Many of his own soldiers were beginning to question orders to attack civilians who were only seeking freedom. Economic Syndicate. Leader Morden watched his empire collapse in real time. Trade routes that had operated for thousands of years simply stopped functioning. Worlds that had provided resources for centuries declared independence. His own subordinates began questioning whether they wanted to serve a leader who spoke so casually about genocide. High Chancellor Thokmar called emergency session after emergency session, but the other council leaders spent more time blaming each other than addressing the crisis. Each faction accused the others of weakness, incompetence, and betrayal. Dr. Moonji analyzed the psychological collapse with professional interest. They built their entire identity around being superior to other species. Now that they're exposed as cruel and incompetent, they don't know how to function. Captain Kangdo brought more bad news for the Council. Intelligence reports show that their own citizens are losing faith. Even on Council homeworlds, people are asking whether their government represents their values. Ambassador Nayu watched it all with satisfaction. We didn't just break their economy. We broke their legitimacy. No government can survive when its own people stop believing in it. Admiral Hansu nodded. And we still haven't fired a shot. Phase 3 complete. What's Phase 4? Dr. Moonji asked. Now we show them what happens when someone calls their bluff. Hansu replied grimly. The galaxy was transforming. The council that had ruled through fear and economic control for 3 millennia was crumbling. But the most dangerous moment was yet to come, when desperate tyrants decided they had nothing left to lose. Captain Kangdo worked in the shadows like he always had. While the council leaders made their angry threats, he was already inside their computer systems, reading their private messages and secret files. What he found made him smile for the first time in months. The council is not as strong as they pretend, he told Dr. Moonji as they studied the stolen data together. There are actually 3 different groups that hate each other. Dr. Moonji looked at the psychological profiles she was building. Each council leader had weaknesses, fears, and desires that could be used against them. Thokmar wants to be remembered as the greatest chancellor in history. Zefkul thinks the military should rule everything. Morden believes only economic power matters. And they all think the others are trying to destroy them, Kangdo added. Look at these messages. Zefkul thinks Morden is planning to cut military funding. Morden thinks Thokmar is giving too much power to the military. Thokmar thinks both of them are plotting against him. Perfect, Dr. Moonji said. Fear and paranoia. We can work with that. Admiral Hansu approved their plan immediately. Instead of fighting the Council directly, they would let the Council destroy itself. But first they needed to plant the right seeds of doubt. Ambassador Nayu prepared for the most important performance of her career. She had 3 separate meetings scheduled with the 3 Council factions. Each group thought they were the only ones talking to the humans. Her first meeting was with War Marshal Zefkul on his massive warship. The bird alien paced back and forth, his talons clicking on the metal floor. Your species shows promise, Zefkul said. Warriors who refuse to surrender. The Council needs soldiers like you. Nayu nodded thoughtfully. We've been impressed by your military records, Marshal. It's clear that you understand strength better than the politicians. Finally, someone who sees the truth. Zefkul's feathers puffed with pride. Thokmar and his crystal-headed fools think diplomacy can solve everything. Morden cares only about profit. Neither understands that power comes from the barrel of a gun. We notice that, Nayu said carefully. Our analysis shows that the Council's military budget has been cut by 30% over the last century. That must be frustrating for someone trying to maintain order. Zefkul's eyes blazed. 37%, actually. Morden's economic policies are bleeding us dry. Soon we won't be able to fight a proper war even if we need to. Nayu leaned forward. What if there was a way to change that? Humanity has some very advanced military technology. The right partnership could benefit both our species. The bird alien's head tilted with interest. What kind of partnership? The kind that puts military leaders back in control of military decisions, Nayu said. But we'd need to know that our allies could actually deliver on their promises. 2 days later, Nayu met with Economic Syndicate leader Mordun in his underwater palace. The aquatic alien floated in his tank, tentacles moving as he spoke. Your rejection of the Council's offer was foolish, Mordun said, but perhaps we can find a more profitable arrangement. We're always interested in good business, Nayu replied, though we've noticed some concerning trends in Council economics, such as military spending is completely out of control, Nayu said. Our economists estimate that you're spending 40% of your budget on weapons and soldiers. That's not sustainable for any civilization. Mordun's tentacles writhed with anger. Finally, someone else who understands basic mathematics. Zefkul wants to build more warships every year. Thokmar approves every military expense because he's afraid of looking weak. It must be difficult, Nayu sympathized, trying to maintain economic stability when the military keeps demanding more resources. You have no idea, Mordun said bitterly. They want to fight wars we don't need against enemies that barely exist while our infrastructure crumbles and our people suffer. Nayu nodded. Humanity has developed some very efficient technologies. Resource management, automated production, sustainable development. The right economic partnership could save the Council trillions of credits and reduce our dependence on military solutions, Mordun added hopefully. Exactly. But we'd need to work with leaders who understand that economic strength is the real foundation of power. Her final meeting was with High Chancellor Thokmar himself, in his crystal tower at the center of the Council station. The alien leader's form flickered between different colors as his mood shifted. Your species has created a difficult situation, Thokmar said. The other factions are using your refusal as an excuse to criticize my leadership. That seems unfair, Nayu said. From what we can see, you're the only Council leader trying to maintain unity and stability. Thokmar's glow became warmer. Few beings understand the burden of true leadership. Zefkul wants to solve every problem with violence. Mordun thinks everything can be reduced to profit and loss, while you have to balance both their demands and keep the peace, Nayu observed. It must be exhausting, especially when they're actively working against each other. You see it too. Thokmar's light pulsed with excitement. Every decision I make, they find ways to undermine. Military operations that ignore economic reality. Economic policies that weaken our defenses. They care more about their own power than the good of the Council. Nayu leaned forward conspiratorially. What if there was a way to strengthen your position? Humanity has technologies that could revolutionize both military and economic systems. A true partnership could show the galaxy that diplomatic solutions work better than force or greed. But how could we trust each other? Thokmar asked. Start small, Nayu suggested. Prove that you can deliver what you promise and we'll do the same. Chief Engineer Beiri played her part perfectly. She gave each faction a demonstration of human technology, but each demonstration was carefully designed to serve Nayu's plan. For Zefkul, she showed advanced weapon systems and defensive shields that could revolutionize warfare. For Morden, she demonstrated automated manufacturing and resource extraction that could multiply economic output. For Thakmar, she revealed communication and coordination technologies that could help manage a galactic empire. But each demonstration came with a catch. The military technology required rare economic resources that Mordun controlled. The economic technology needed military protection that only Zefkul could provide. The administrative technology required cooperation between all factions to work properly. Within a week, the results exceeded all expectations. Zefkul demanded immediate access to human military technology, insisting it was crucial for Council security. Morden refused to provide the necessary resources unless the military budget was cut by half. Thakmar ordered both of them to cooperate, but neither would listen. The council sessions became shouting matches. Zefkul accused Mordun of weakening their defenses on purpose. Morden accused Zefkul of planning a military coup. Both accused Thakmar of being too weak to lead. Dr. Moonji monitored their communications and reported to Admiral Han Su. Their paranoia is feeding on itself now. Each faction is convinced the others are plotting against them. Thakmar tried to schedule a private meeting with Zefkul, and Morden interpreted it as a conspiracy to remove him from power. And they still think they're the only ones talking to us? Hansu asked. Each faction believes they have an exclusive deal with humanity. Nayu confirmed. They're so focused on outmaneuvering each other that they've forgotten we're the ones causing all the trouble. Captain Kang Do had been busy too. He had carefully edited recordings of each faction's private meetings with Nayu, then leaked them to the other factions. Nothing was faked, but the timing and context made each group look like they were planning to betray the others. Zefkul now believes that Mordun is secretly negotiating to give humans control of military production, Kang Do reported. Mordun thinks Zefkul is planning to use human weapons to overthrow the civilian government. Thakmar is convinced they're both trying to replace him with human-backed puppet leaders. The paranoia spread beyond the leadership. Military officers began questioning economic decisions. Economic managers started doubting military intelligence. Administrative officials couldn't tell which orders were legitimate and which were factional politics. The council that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years was tearing itself apart from within. And the humans hadn't fired a single shot. Admiral Han Su watched the chaos with satisfaction. Phase 1 complete. They're now too busy fighting each other to focus on us. What's Phase 2? Dr. Moonji asked. Han Su smiled grimly. Now we show the rest of the galaxy what their beloved council is really like. The alarm bells rang through the council station like thunder. High Chancellor Thakmar's crystalline body sparkled with angry red light as he moved through the corridors. In 3,000 years of ruling the galaxy, nothing like this had ever happened. Explain this to me again, Thakmar said to his aide as they entered the emergency meeting room. His voice sounded like breaking glass when he was angry. The aide, a nervous creature with 6 arms, shuffled his papers. The energy readings came from the third arm of the galaxy, Your Excellence. A small yellow star system. The species there just tested something that created waves in space itself. Thakmar's red glow grew brighter. Quantum drive technology? Yes, Your Excellence. But that's impossible. No species develops quantum drives without our permission. We control all advanced technology in the galaxy. Around the meeting table, other council members were arriving. War Marshal Zefkul landed with a flutter of his massive wings. His beak clicked with annoyance. Economic Syndicate leader Mordun's water tank rolled into position, bubbles rising as he breathed in frustration. This cannot be allowed, Zefkul squawked. If one species develops advanced technology without our control, others will follow. We must crush them immediately. Mordun's voice came through the water speakers, distorted but clear. Agreed. We have maintained order for millennia by ensuring no species becomes too advanced. This threatens everything. Thakmar looked at the data again. The energy signature was massive. Whatever these creatures had built, it was powerful. But they were just one small planet in an unimportant system. How dangerous could they be? Send them the standard offer, Thakmar decided. Immediate submission with generous terms. 90% resource taxation instead of the usual 95. They should be grateful for our mercy. 2 weeks later, Admiral Hansu stood in the communication room of the Human Defense Command. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many battles. Next to him, Dr. Moon-ji studied the alien message on her tablet. She was smaller than the Admiral, with quick movements and a mind that never stopped thinking. "Let me understand this correctly," Hansu said to the hologram of the alien chancellor. "You want us to give you 90% of everything we produce, hand over all our technology, and let you control how many children we can have?" The crystalline alien's image flickered with red light. "This is the most generous offer ever given to a new species. You should be honored that the Galactic Council recognizes your potential," Dr. Moon-ji whispered to the Admiral. "I've been studying their language patterns and historical records. They've never negotiated with anyone. Every species either surrenders immediately or gets destroyed." Hansu nodded slightly, then looked back at the hologram. "And if we refuse? Then you will be pacified," Thokmar said simply. "Your civilization will be removed as a threat to galactic stability." Captain Kang-do entered the room quietly. He was a thin man who seemed to see everything and say little. He handed Dr. Moon-ji a datapad with new information. Dr. Moon-ji read quickly, then smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Admiral, you need to see this. Their own records show they've done this exact same thing to 437 other species. Not one ever said no, is that so?" Hansu asked, looking back at the alien chancellor. Ambassador Nayu stepped forward. She was an elegant woman who had spent years learning how to talk to difficult people. Her job was to make deals that helped humanity. But this was not a deal. "Chancellor Thokmar," she said politely, "I believe there has been a misunderstanding. You seem to think you're offering us something, but from our perspective, you're demanding that we become your slaves in exchange for not killing us." The alien's red glow became brighter. "Slaves? How dare you?" "We offer membership in the galactic community." Nayu laughed. It was a clear, bright sound that somehow made the powerful alien leader take a step back. "You call this membership? We give you everything and you give us permission to exist? That's not membership. That's robbery." Chief Engineer Bei-ri was also in the room, quietly recording everything. She was a practical woman who built things that worked. She had spent the last month studying the alien technology they could detect. What she found was interesting. "Their technology is old," she had told the Admiral earlier. "Very advanced but old. They haven't invented anything new in centuries. They just take what other species create and call it their own." War Marshal Zeph Kuhl's image appeared next to the Chancellor. His massive bird-like head tilted as he studied the humans. "You dare to mock the Council? We have conquered 1,000 worlds." "Congratulations," Hansu said dryly. "That must have been very difficult, fighting people who had no choice but to lose." Dr. Moon-ji stepped forward with her analysis. "Marshal, we've studied your military records. Every species you fought was either primitive or you outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. When was the last time you faced an enemy that could actually fight back?" The bird alien's feathers ruffled with anger. "Are you threatening the Council?" "No," Hansu said calmly. "We're explaining why your offer is rejected. We will not surrender our freedom, our resources, or our future to you or anyone else." Thokmar's crystalline form glowed so brightly it hurt to look at. "No species has ever refused the Council's offer." "Well," Nayu said with another smile, "I suppose that makes us special. Economic Syndicate Leader." Morden's bubbles increased as he spoke. "You will regret this foolishness. Without Council protection, you will have no trade, no resources, no contact with other species. You will be alone in the galaxy." Bei-ri spoke for the first time. "That assumes we need you for any of those things. But we've been listening to your communications for months. We know exactly how your empire works." The three alien leaders looked at each other with what might have been worry. Captain Kang-do finally spoke, his quiet voice somehow more threatening than any shout. "We know about the rebellions on 17 worlds that you've been hiding. We know about the faction fighting in your own government. We know about the economic problems you're pretending don't exist. Most importantly," Dr. Moon-ji added, "we know that you've never actually faced a species that was prepared for you." Hansu stood straighter, his military bearing clear. "You can try to conquer us if you want, but understand this, we are not like the others. We will not kneel. We will not surrender, and we will not make it easy for you." The communication ended with the aliens looking shaken. For the first time in their long lives, they had encountered a species that said no. in the Human Defense Command. The team looked at each other. Well, Nayu said, that went better than expected. They'll try to destroy us now, Kang-do observed. Let them try, Hansu replied. Dr. Moon-ji, begin psychological analysis of their leadership. Beiri, prepare our surprises. Captain Kang-do, it's time to show them what human intelligence gathering really looks like. And me? Nayu asked. Hansu smiled grimly. Get ready to negotiate, but this time we'll be doing it on our terms. The first move had been made. The Galactic Council had expected another easy victory. Instead, they had found something they had never encountered before. A species that refused to be conquered. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they were truly motivated.